Welcome to the 29th Accordion Seminars. I'm Dr. William Schimmel, and back in 1994, when the seminar started, I do remember that moment when my wife, Mickey Goodman, turned on the camera, and I knew that something wonderful was going to happen. And it's happened for 29 years. This year's title is In the Shadow and in the Expletive. You can supply any word that you want there. Why? Well, the accordion functions in the shadow rather well. And it could be that shadowy instrument that actually lights up everything around it. And the other thing could be the wonderful manure that comes out of the instrument. A Tibetan guru once said that we can take our manure of experience and spread it out and grow beautiful flowers. And that we didn't have to always go on creating. It was a whole new look at creativity. And there's no better instrument to do that than the accordion. The accordion is just full of memories, melodies, experiences, and everything that comes from us that we can pump into it. And we can just spread that as fertilizer and soil and produce beautiful flowers, beautiful plants, and just beautiful things in general. Which brings us to the realm of totality. We live in the realm of totality, and we know that. And way back in the 1970s and 80s, I did a lot of composing for off-Broadway. And one of my collaborators, George W.S. Troe, he was a writer for The New Yorker and the founder of the National Lampoon, originally the Harvard Lampoon. He used to say to me, would you give me something 1906 or whatever? And then he would tell people afterwards, when you ask Schimmel to do 1906, you're not going to get 1907. And that's called nailing the genre. And I was hired because I could give someone a period style that would, in a sense, as we said, nail the genre. Now, you can also bust the genre. And in a number of occasions, I would play something entirely opposite of what was going on in stage. And that would be called busting the genre. And today, we can do that. We can play with those aspects, or we can combine them. You can nail and bust the genre at the same time. The accordion has a reference spray. And it can spray any number of things. It can spray everything that you've learned. It can combine things, and as we said before, it can nail genres or bust genres. And again, we can take that and spread that as fertilizer and manure. And it can be a whole new way of composing. In essence, the accordion will help you compose. And it will not be artificial intelligence. It will be real intelligence through you. And so, put on your accordion and let it compose along with you. And you'll be really surprised about your end results. We all know about the depth of humor that the accordion has. There's been accordion jokes. Most people in the accordion community are already tired of them. And of course, there's some brilliant comics who use the accordion. Back in radio days, there was the Phil Baker Hour. And of course, today we have Weird Al, and he's brilliant. Now, there's other dimensions of humor that the accordion still needs to be explored. Yes, there is a darker dimension. And if you look at comedians such as Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, they are more than comedians. They are philosophers. And they could supply something to humor that's more than just humor. And this is something that the accordion needs to be, in a sense, put in a situation to be explored. And it's something that I am very interested in. Now, how does one go about doing that, and how does one start? Well, looking at what the great comics and great philosophers have done in the past, you always start with something totally familiar. So everyone is on the same page. And then you take them on that ride. And it can be a light ride, or it can be a dark ride. Ironically, some of the best humor came out of things that were absolutely disastrous. And give an example, the horsehead scene from The Godfather. It was absolutely disastrous when we first saw it. But I remember doing some live performances with the Philharmonic of The Godfather. And of course, when that scene starts to come on and the music plays, all of a sudden the audience starts to actually, in a very scared way, starts to chuckle, like, oh, here it's coming. And that disastrous scene transforms itself into something else. And I'm going to show you, in a sense, what I'm talking about. I'm going to play something that most of you, if you don't know the title of it, I'm sure you've heard it. It's The Galloping Comedians by Kavalevsky. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it, of course, in my own way, and I'm going to let the accordion compose it along with me. And then I'm going to use the device simply by slowing it down, slowing it down, slowing it down, slowing it down. Now, what does that do? Well, what it does is, first of all, galloping comedians. If the comedians were horses, or comedians with horse heads or whatever, when you're slowing it down, they certainly wouldn't be galloping anymore. The horses might be on their way to the glue factory. And so a whole other dimension of philosophical humor starts to take place. I will demonstrate that now. In the spirit of the humor that we were just talking about, I composed a piece called Eliza Finished. I always was intrigued with the overture to My Fair Lady. And what I wanted to do is compose a piece where Eliza Doolittle could finally tell Henry Higgins to screw off. And so sure enough, I wrote this piece. I didn't know whether it would be funny or not. So I tried it out in a club, and everyone seemed to be hysterical. And it seemed to be humorous. I wasn't sure. And a number of people told me that, in the present and also in the past, that some of my humor isn't funny at the top. But maybe the next day they'll think about it and they may wake up laughing and tell me, you know something, that thing you told me last night was actually a lot funnier than I expected, and I've been laughing all day about it. And sometimes a philosophical point of view or a philosophical humor can produce a delayed reaction. So don't worry out there if you don't always get a quick laugh. If people leave thinking, that can be a great thing also. Here is Eliza Finished. What you just heard was 3 Shades of Blue, and it's a piece in 3 movements. And the first piece is a blues, and it covers a great variety of blues styles from Delta, New Orleans, first line. And when you hear the blues, and the blues are always about something sad, or as Duke Ellington said, romantic failure. When you hear the blues, there's still, no matter how dark or sad it gets, you still experience or hear a ray of hope that sometime, someday, things will get better. Whether they do or not is one thing, but that is like the hope. There's that feeling of tomorrow might be better, or sometime down the line things might be better. Now, we'll move down another shade of blue to a song called the fado that comes from Portuguese. And you can go to Portuguese fado bars, like in Lisbon, and you can drink, get sad, and cry. And so they're not as sad as the blues, but there's a certain dampness in them. They're usually very, very song-like, and they're usually played on guitars, of course, with vocals. And there's a wistful quality, for instance, I'm recalling some words about a woman or a wife saying, you haven't been coming home early, and sometimes not at all, but one night you'll come home and I won't be there either. And so there's that quality to the Portuguese fado. Now, if we move down one more step, we move down to the tango. Now, I'm talking about the classic tango. And the classic tango is a kind of a piece that can be extremely beautiful and seductive, and of course it is. And yet, once you get entangled in it, it has the aspect, you start feeling the aspect of there is no hope here, that things are not going to get better. As a matter of fact, they're probably going to get worse. And so, what does one do about it? What is the ultimate screw you? Now, the ultimate is, if that's going to happen to me, then I will go out looking my very best. I will go out in great style. I will go out looking better than you. And if you see me lying in my coffin, I will look so good. And so therefore, that is the dimension of the classic tango. Now, of course, the modern tango is something else. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about how the tango worked its way over to France when it became much more about style and eventually became commercialized globally. But there was a particular period around 1910 where there was a place that you could go called the 400 Club. And a lot of ship merchants went there, and their wives went off to tea rooms. And it was a place where they could find quick, anonymous romance. And various bands would come in. Sometimes a tango band would come in. And by the way, with piano accordion, not bandoneon. Or sometimes King Carnival and the Satellites would come in, a fife and drum ragtime group. And all these eclectic groups would come in and play for them. And many of the servers, waiters, were in gypsy costumes. And this became a very eclectic place. And the kind of tango they did was a lighter version of the tango, and it was more what we call the tea dance tango. And they were also doing that in the tea rooms of London, where the wives went, and also the tea rooms of Glasgow, Scotland. And as a matter of fact, some of the Glasgow tea rooms are now being reconstructed in their original style, especially the Willow tea room, the ones that were designed by Charles Rennie Mackintosh. And so now we have the 3 shades of blue. And so you can play with all these particular dimensions, or you can combine them. And again, you can, in a sense, nail the genre and bust the genre. Martina Lee is from China, and she now lives in Texas. She composed this modal piece that I found very fascinating. And because it could be combined in so many different genres. In many cases, it really nailed a genre. And then in some cases, it busted it. And I wanted to play it and go through a few aspects that I found really interesting that can be done with it. And it's called Waiting. It starts off just plaintively. That melody can be many things. It could be a chant for almost any particular kind of liturgical setting. It could be a plaintive Japanese or Chinese melody, even though it might not be using their authentic scales, which we'll go into later, but it could give off that particular feeling. It can go in any number of directions, and I'll demonstrate a few. For instance, if I wanted to create the English countryside, could be Gustav Holst, could be Vaughan Williams. Then we can go in another direction. In another direction. And then a final one. So we went from basic chant, and then we went to a kind of a English countryside. Then we went to jazz, sort of in the Miles Davis milestones area. And then at the tail end of that, we did a little bit of Jim Morrison, Riders from the Storm. Then we moved into a klezmer dimension and ended with a full-out organ orchestra dimension. Point I'm making is you can only do that on the accordion. Try it on another instrument, you're not going to get the depth and dimensions that you're getting on the accordion. The accordion can do an orchestral effect. And I tried it on piano and I didn't quite get the payoff. And so I went to the accordion and the orchestral dimension just worked its way right to me. And all the reference sprays that we were talking about earlier just presented themselves to me. And so that is Waiting by Martina Lee, with variations by me by way of my accordion.
Hello everyone, I'm Bob McMahon and will present this year the third of 4 installments for these seminars, discussing 5 special accordion solos composed in the mid-1960s for the intermediate level accordion student. They were commissioned by the late distinguished founder and long-serving chair of the American Accordionists Association's Composers Commissioning Committee, the late Elsie Bennett, whom I had the honor of following in that role in 2006 upon her retirement. In the 2021 seminar, we examined Paul Creston's Embryo Suite. Next, in 2022, we looked at 2 more of these works, David Diamond's Introduction and Dance and Jose Suarnac's Prelude of the Sea. For this season, we will discuss and hear Lilt by the great African-American composer William Grant Still. William Grant Still was born in Woodsville, Mississippi, but grew up in a much more liberal Little Rock, Arkansas, than it was to become known by the mid-20th century. In his early days, he worked under W.C. Handy in New York and is considered to be part of the great Harlem Renaissance of that era. He eventually settled in Los Angeles for the greater part of his career. Celebrated as the Dean of African American Composers, he achieved many firsts for his race. He was the first African American to have a symphony, his Afro-American Symphony by name, performed by a major symphony orchestra. In fact, it was the most frequently performed American symphony period, right up to the mid-century. He was the first to conduct a major symphony orchestra, first to conduct an orchestra in the Deep South, first to have an opera, his masterpiece, Troubled Island, produced by a major company in New York. First to have an opera performed on national television, on PBS, in the 1980s after his death. Elsie Bennett and the Still family became close friends over the years. This includes their daughter and manager of the Still estate and publications, Judy, whom I'm happy to include among my friends as well. Judy's daughter is the well-known PBS radio journalist Celeste Headley, named after the lead role Celeste in her grandfather's opera, Troubled Island. Now here is a basic overview of lilt. It's kind of a hybrid of forms. First of all, it falls into 3 large sections that we will call Section A, which measures 1 to 60. Section B measures 61 to 86. And Section A prime, a return of A materials, are most of them, which like Section B, is a much shorter section than the original Section A, which pretty much is the same length of the other 2 combined. Now within these sections, which we would commonly call a tripartite or ternary form, there is another form, the rondo form, because in Section A we have an A theme, and then we have a B theme, contrasting themes, and then a varied form of A returning, which we'll call A prime, so ABA. That's small ternary within itself. But then we go to Section B, and we find 2 new themes, which we will label C and D, and a returning C theme, which is slightly varied, which we will call C prime. So another little ternary piece within this larger ternary piece. And then finally, Section A prime encompasses returning A, but he doesn't bring B back, and he instead gives us a coda, an ending section, using certain rhythmic motifs and like from Section A's introduction theme and A theme. And oh yes, in the A section, there is an introductory theme, before the A, B, and A prime theme. So it's a complex little form, though the tunes are simple and very singable. And, well, it's then rondo form within a larger tripartite or ternary form, a kind of a hybrid. The composer just keeps it very simple by describing for the layperson that this work is a jaunty, good-humored little tune with an easy, infectious rhythm, which indeed it is. Now here are some traits in lilt that's pretty typical of Stills music in general. First of all, there's a minor key effect in the A sections and a major key effect in B section, although they're mainly using majorish and minorish type church modes, so-called. And yes, a frequent use of Dorian and Aeolian modes in melodies, but often leaving out notes that would form half steps with other notes, thus creating 5-note pentatonic scale sources instead. The result is a gentler, softer effect in these modal melodies and a less urgent need than in standard major-minor tonality to emphasize the tonic or first note of the scale so often. Also, the contrast between major and minor keys is pleasantly blurred as well. Now, a Dorian mode is like a minor scale with the 6th note rather than the usual 7th note being raised. The Aeolian mode is exactly the same as a pure or natural minor scale. Finally, his harmonies are very conventional, quite on dissonance, but they are very basic, yes, but they do have some chromatic ones here and there, mildly chromatic, that help to give the music a kind of blues effect, which is a large part of, in fact, his musical heritage and style. So his music is very unimposing, very soft and gentle to listen to. Now here are some themes. We will start with just section A, and I'll just briefly play them for you. First theme is based on the A Dorian mode, which I'll play with the raised 6, as you see on the page. And now we will play this first melody, which is in the clarinet register, I believe. That's the first theme. The second one that comes in is on a different register, I believe. We'll make it violin, and is actually theme A. What you just heard was the introductory theme. Here's the official theme A in A minor, but using the Aeolian mode. And here this theme is. And it goes on like that. Theme B, you see at the bottom, a bit dramatic at first, back to the A Dorian mode again, and then it breaks on to a more lyrical section. Like that. Then we will next go to the next page and look at the second section, the section B, and discuss it a bit. And now we will go to section B, and here is the first theme using an A major pentatonic scale, an A scale with some notes cut out. It'll be in the piccolo register. That's why it was so high. Here we go. So forth and so on. And then a bit choppier in the violin register, a bit choppier second theme that then becomes a little bit more lyrical. forth and so on. Then, of course, the returning C theme comes back. So those were the C and D themes. And yes, this one used the C-sharp Aeolian mode, as you can see. And now we'll hear the entire piece with all these sections and themes marked as you hear it go by. So you'll be listening to it and you will be looking at the score at the same time. I hope you enjoy it. This is a recording I made some time ago of, again, Lilt by William Grant Still. Fine. I hope this has been useful to you and that you will play this and many of the other AAA Commission works someday. Do stay in touch. Feel free to contact me at the email address you see there. Next year we will discuss the last of the 5 special intermediate level commissions that Elsie Bennett had done. And that will be the Danza Ritual by Jose Cerebriere. Also on the AAA website is listings of all of the commission works, as well as sampling performances of them. In addition to that, my articles that are quite extensive, discussing the history and the analysis of all of these works, including these today. So I'll see you next year. Take care now. Goodbye.
Today, if I'm involved in a theater production or anything that has to do with theater, I usually try and talk to the costume people to tone down my costume, number one, or not to wear a costume at all. And when I do my own theatrical works, under the term performance or performance art, I no longer wear a costume. What reason for that? Well, first of all, my accordion is my costume. In the words of Bertolt Brecht, the accordion was a worker's instrument. It had a worker's dimension. It's something that you wore. And it also had a commentary dimension, where it's the kind of thing that could be in the shadows commentating about things that were going on. And I always loved that dimension in terms of my theatrical compositions. And so I no longer wear costumes except for maybe some very, very, very minor details. And I call that the Homeric dimension, where basically blind Homer would sit there and recite or sing his poems. And that was it. Or the great Persian poets, they would play on a flute, improvise poetry, and that was it. And all of a sudden, theater would appear. And interestingly enough, Allen Ginsberg was approached by the Tibetan guru who I'll mention, Chogyam Trungpa. And apparently Ginsberg was worried about just being regarded as a beat poet. And so Trungpa told him, shave your beard, wear a suit, and go out and say anything that comes to mind, improvise the poetry. And so he went out and did it, and he said he never felt freer. He didn't quite know how good or bad his poetry was, but at that particular point, it really didn't much matter. He freed himself up from being locked in to a particular category. Now, I thought I'd try my hand at that, where I would ad-lib some poetry and play some music underneath, and to see where it goes. The Martina Lee piece was in the Dorian mode, from D to D, white note keys. And so I will give it a shot. Here we go. Why must I tell you I love you? Why must I tell you I care? Why must I tell you I love you? Why must you sit in my chair? Twinkle, twinkle, little earth, how I wonder what you're worth, down above the earth so low. Twinkle, twinkle, little earth, how I wonder what you're worth. Why must I tell you I love you? Why must I tell you I care? Why must I tell you I love you? Why must you sit in my chair? Emotions, textures. School days. Whenever we have a difficult test, Meehan is a terrible pest. He cheats and cheats. He is no hero. What does he get? A big fat zero. Whenever we have a difficult test, Meehan is a terrible pest. He cheats and cheats all Roach and Nero. What does he get? A big fat zero. When I'm here, I'm me. When I'm not here, I'm someone else. When I'm back here again. When I'm over there, I'm not sure. Hello, Mr. Riley. Hello, Mr. Riley. I hope you are feeling fine. My mother baked you a fresh new fruit cake with grapes fresh from the vine. Hello, Mr. Riley. Hello, Mr. Riley. I hope you are feeling fine. Hello, Mr. Riley. Hello, Mr. Riley. I hope you are feeling good. All of us bid you a real good day, Smith, Marcelli, and Woody. I hope you are feeling good, good, good. Someone built a tunnel over a road just for the hell of it, to make it dark. You could see a speck of light at the end. What's at the end? Pittsburgh? The Golden Gate? I don't think I'll drive through it. I prefer a covered bridge near an inn. Oh my darling Clementine, you were squeezed forever. Oh my darling Clementine. I scarfed 4 of you down before breakfast. You had no seeds. Oranges and lemons from the bells of St. Clement's. Oh my darling. Oh my darling. I scarfed 4 of you down before breakfast. No seeds. Poems are made by fools like me. But only the Buddha can make an orange, a clementine orange, fall from the Bodhi tree. This marks the end of our masterclass number 1. We'll pause for a little bit and see you at the concert. This is Dr. William Schimmel. Welcome to concert number 1, our 29th year of the Accordion Seminars. Mickey Goodman and myself, we collaborated on a video which we call Kanji, Kentucky. And this is a work based upon Japanese calligraphy, which is called kanji. And that particular kind of calligraphy is figurative. And the one we're focusing in, which you will see, will be depicting woman. And we got the idea because we realized that a lot of the Japanese modes and melodies resembled bluegrass. And I was a great fan of the writer, the Trappist monk, Thomas Merton, who lived in a hermitage at the Abbey of Gethsemane in Kentucky. And I kind of met him at one particular point in my life. And that's a whole other story. But he took a trip into Louisville for some sort of doctor's appointment or whatever, and he had an experience of some sort of satori or some sort of enlightenment. And as he writes, it was very undramatic. And what he realized was the oneness of everybody. And which sounds rather undramatic even today, but let's face it, we still haven't gotten there. And so it also turns out that the Louisville Library has the largest collection of kanji materials. And so here is Kanji, Kentucky, choreography, video, and dance by Mickey Goodman, and music and performance by me, edited by Godfrey Nelson. Louis Etudes. Saul Louis, he was an artist who did these very, very, very thin drawings that covered an entire wall. And Dave Soldier, he actually did a series, 50 of them, of conceptual pieces. And the final one was actually dedicated to the late Pauline Oliveris. And we were told that we could do anything we wanted with us. That was the whole point of the piece. And so Denise Konchelik and myself went to work, and we did a version. She played flute, and I played melodica, which is, of course, a keyboard instrument that you blow into. I'm sure you've recognized it, and you'll be able to see and hear it here. This is Louis Etude number 50. Will Holzhauser, becoming more and more famous in many, many different directions, and talk about reference Sprague. He is one of our stars that's been with us close to 29 years. And he wrote a wonderful piece called Aviary. And it really, mark my words, it really takes flight. And so here is Will Holzhauser performing Aviary. And I'm sure you'll agree with me about what a wonderful composition it is. Will Holzhauser. Lee McClure, also a seminar veteran, has had some really good performances lately, especially a new one for horn and piano played by a Philadelphia orchestra member. And today I'm going to do a work of his called In Trouble Again, and it's something that I sort of identify with, or I think we all identify with it in some form or another. We all get in trouble occasionally. So this is Lee McClure's In Trouble Again. Corn Moe is one of our great indie rock singers. Also plays accordion. Corn Moe also is a legit singer. He's classically trained. You can hear our version of The Winter Ice in its entirety. You can hear it on my website, billschimmel.com, and you can get it through Bandcamp. And we're quite proud of it. And today, Corn Moe will give you a new work of his called Happy Birthday, Don't Cry. Ladies and gentlemen, Corn Moe.
Hi, I'm Corn Moe. Here's a song about my Aunt Lily. My Aunt Lily was a sweet lady. She was very lazy. She put herself into a nursing home before she needed to. And I get it. They clean your room, you get a meal made for you. One time, when she was in the nursing home, finally, I went to go visit her. My dad and I saw her playing bingo. We left her alone because she was very excited to be in that nursing home playing bingo. So I went to Sonic. I got a number 2, which is a cheeseburger. She always asked for no lettuce. But one time, I forgot. And as she opened up her hamburger, they had these little strands of lettuce. She picked each one out, didn't complain. And you know what? It was very calming to watch her take that lettuce off her burger. So from then on, I always forgot to not get lettuce, just so I could watch. It's selfish of me, but you should have seen it. It was very calming. She also liked to call people on their birthdays. She would get up early, about 6, maybe 5, call the local radio station. I've got a list of people who have birthdays. I said, Lily, why do you call people on the birthdays? Why are you obsessed with birthdays? She said, it's my hobby. So here's a song about my Aunt Lily and her sister Hazel and my uncles who made moonshine, and they trucked it down to Nashville during Prohibition. But then Hazel drank a lot of it, and then my Uncle Sam said, you can't make it anymore. So here's a song about that. Happy birthday, don't cry. I saw you last night with your head in your hands. I will never relate about the stranger who drank all the whiskey Sam made. I know it was you who choose to drive down to Nashville tonight. The syrup's in you. Happy birthday to you. I'm going to the store to get me a Coke. Do you want Mountain Dew? I used to. I started to make a nice birthday cake. Some things I'm too lazy for. When Jerry gets home, I'm going to the store. I lost my good shoes. There's a sale out at Fred's. The shoes that I bought when I was at Fred's are no good to wear, so I'll give them to you. Happy birthday to you.
John Fody's been with us for many years as well. And he has a kind of Jersey Shore vibe. We used to call him, we can't do that anymore because he's living in Cape May. We used to call him our Asbury Park accordionist or our Accordion Springsteen. And what he did this year is he took a Taylor Swift piece and he did a cover version of it. And it's Vigilante Shit. And so here is John Fody with Vigilante Shit, written, composed by Taylor Swift.
Draw the cat eye sharp enough to kill a man. You did some bad things, but I'm the worst of them. Sometimes I wonder which one will be your last lie. They say if looks could kill, well I might try. Well, I don't dress for women, and I don't dress for men. Lately I've been dressing for revenge. I don't start shit, but I can tell you how it ends. Don't get mad, get even. So on the weekends, well, I don't dress for friends. Lately I've been dressing for revenge. She needed cold hard proof, so I gave her some. She had the envelope, where do you think she got it from? Now she gets a house, gets the kids, gets all the pride. Picture me as thick as thieves with your ex-wife. She looks so pretty, driving in your Benz. Lately she been dressing for revenge. She don't start shit, but she can tell you how it ends. Don't get mad, get even. So on the weekends, I don't dress for friends. Lately I've been dressing for revenge. Ladies always rise above. Ladies know what people want. Sometimes sweet and kind of fun. The ladies simply had enough. While he was doing lines, crossing all of mine, someone told his white-collar crimes to the FBI. I don't dress for villains, for innocents. I've been on my vigilante shit again. I don't start shit, but I can tell you how it ends. Don't get sad, get even. So on the weekends, I don't dress for friends. Lately I've been dressing for revenge.
Benjamin Nickies came to me a number of years ago to study from California. And he had heard me on some Tom Waits recordings. And so we've been in touch for many, many years already. And he comes in for lessons when he can. He recently graduated from Harvard, and I believe in mathematics. And I asked him, of course, to take part this year in the seminars, and he took that Irish rock song, that Irish punk song called Come On Eileen, and did a concert version of it. And so let's listen and watch Benjamin Ickes with Come On Eileen, which he calls the Eileenian Rhapsody. Peter Jarvis, one of our perhaps greatest percussionists in contemporary music of all time, has written pieces for me, I think, over the past 10, 12 years for the seminars. And this year, his title is Accordion Seminars of 2023. And he dedicates it to me and Morton Feldman, which is quite an honor. And since the piece is so short, and he asked that the dynamics get varied, I'm going to play the piece 3 times. And I'm going to do some interesting things register-wise, texture-wise, and in some cases even tempo-wise. This is called Accordion Seminars of 2023. Hansi Wang is the first accordionist to win the Young Concert Artist competition. And I was fortunate to be on the jury. And today, she will perform Mendelssohn's Spinning Wheel. Hansi Wang. David Stoller's been with me for many years. I think 50 already. And first at Brooklyn College, where I taught him, and then he studied with me at the New Power Conservatory. And he's written a composition called No One Has to Win. He wrote the music, Andy Troy wrote the words, and I hope I get the pronunciation straight. It also includes James Sarabello, Lou Dinatello, and Pupadwin Santiago, and video by Pat Stoller. Ladies and gentlemen, David Stoller.
In the air, easily, all my cares drift away from me, and the sun, let it shine, burn away all that clouds your mind. Then the sun fades away, and the night comes to take its place. Black as cold as ice, sends a chill up and down my spine. Feel safe, let's pretend, let's ignore what's around the bend. Then it's here, icy cold, taste of death, scent of acetone. a crown. They will toast with absinthe, sabers drawn, and of old days. Then rebirth makes the day. Gentle breeze softly comes your way. So it ends and begins. You don't lose. No one has to win.
I think everyone has a story about finding an accordion or some music in the attic, and finding an old sheet music. And Denise found one, Voltaire, an Italian song, Taza e Caffè, and she plays a version that puts one in mind of the street corners of Italy or of Rome and people having gelatis. It's totally on the pleasure zone. So let's hear Denise Konchelik. This is Lament by Dan Cooper for accordion and electronics. Dan has been composing for me for quite a while. We have a group called the Yorkvillians, and we do every particular kind of style. We do clubs, and we do everything from reggae to punk rock. And he's on the board of directors of Composers Concordance, and I go back a long time to Composers Concordance. I was on the first concert, and that was, I would say back in as far as 1984. And it was founded by my student, Patrick Hardish. And so, again, that was Dan Cooper's Lament for accordion and electronics. Our last guest will be Carl Reel. Again, pretty much a veteran to the seminars. And his piece, I can't pronounce it, but I'll spell it. Allolnyc. And all I can say is you're going to enjoy it. And this will end day one of the 2023 Accordion Seminars. I will see you tomorrow for day number 2, and good night and God bless.
Thank you.